Hey everyone! In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to change a rigged 3D character from an A pose to a T pose, so you can use it with AI animation tools like DeepMotion. DeepMotion is a really cool platform that can create animations from video clips, or even from text prompts. But, like most AI animation software, it only works if your custom character is in a T pose. That basically means the arms are stretched straight out to the sides, and the legs are pointing straight down, just like the example you see here. But what if your character starts out in an A pose, like this tiger model here? In that case, you can't just drop it straight into an AI animation platform. This is pretty common, especially if you're grabbing assets from online stores or generating models with AI mesh tools. A lot of them come in A pose, or sometimes in other random poses, rather than the standard T pose. So, in today's video, I'll walk you through how to take any custom character and convert it to a proper T pose in just 4 simple steps using Blender. Step 1. Import your character model into Blender. Go ahead and open up Blender. I'm using version 4.3.2 for this tutorial. On the startup screen, you'll see the default placeholder cube. Let's delete that to start fresh. Now, just drag your FBX file right into the Blender window. When the import setting window pops up, just click Import FBX and boom, your custom character in A pose imported into Blender. Alright, that's step 1 done. Now for step 2, we're going to adjust the character's pose from A pose to T pose. First, switch over to pose mode, then open the data tab. Here you'll see 2 options: pose position, which shows the character's current pose, and rest pose, which shows the binding pose the model was created with. For now, we're only working on the pose position. If your character is already in a T pose, you can skip this step and go straight to step 3. But if, like mine, your model is in an A pose, let's go ahead and fix the pose position to match a proper T pose. We'll come back to the rest pose later in step 4. To do that, select the Rotate tool, and start rotating the joints one by one until the character is in a T pose. In general, you want the arms completely flat. So begin with the shoulder joints, then move down to the elbows, and finally adjust the wrists so the arms stretch straight out to the sides. Switch to top view to make sure the arms look straight from above too. Once that's set, we're good with the arms. Now for the legs, make sure they're pointing straight down. Usually a small adjustment at the hips is enough. Just check that the feet stay flat on the ground. Next, let's clean up the neck. Sometimes it slouches forward a bit, so hide the mesh temporarily to clearly see the bones, and rotate the neck bone to stand more upright. Then turn the mesh back on to double check, it should look much straighter now. That's good enough for this step. If you want, you can spend more time perfecting the T-pose. The flatter and cleaner it is, the better your AI animation will retarget later. And that's it, our pose position is now set to T-pose. Step 2 completed. Now, even though our pose position is fixed, the binding mesh of the character is still in an A pose. So let's move on to step 3, we'll deform the binding mesh into a T-pose as well. First, switch back to object mode and select the mesh. You'll know it's the right one because it has the little triangle icon next to it. What we want to do is apply the A to T transform we created in step 2 directly to the binding mesh. Right now, that transform is stored inside the armature. If you open the Modifiers tab, you'll see the armature listed under the mesh's modifiers. The problem is, by default, that armature only transforms the mesh during animation, it doesn't actually change the binding mesh itself. To bake it in, open the drop-down menu next to the armature and choose Duplicate. Then, from the Duplicated Armatures menu, select Apply. This will bake the A to T transform directly into the binding mesh, permanently putting the mesh into a T-pose. But notice what happens, the mesh now looks distorted, almost like a weird U pose. Don't worry, that's expected. In step 4, we'll fix this by baking the current pose position into the character's rest pose. For now, let's confirm that the binding mesh has actually been updated. Switch over to Edit mode, and you'll see the binding mesh is now perfectly in a T-pose. Awesome, that means step 3 is complete. Alright, time for step 4. If you go back to the object mode, you'll probably notice the mesh still looks a bit deformed, the arms are over-rotated upwards. That's because the rest pose is still stuck in A pose. To check this, select the character's armature, switch into the pose mode, then head to the Data tab. If you toggle to rest position, you'll see the skeleton is still in A pose. But if you switch back to pose position, it's in T pose. So our last job is to copy that T-pose from pose position over to rest position. Here's how, while in pose position, with the skeleton showing the correct T-pose, go up to the pose menu at the top. Choose Apply, and then choose Apply Pose as Rest Pose. What this does is bake the current pose, the T-pose, into the binding pose. After applying, both pose position and rest position will match, and your skeleton stays in T-pose no matter which position you're in. Everything looks clean. And if you check in the edit mode, the binding mesh stays perfectly in T-pose as well. That's it, we've now got both the current pose and the binding pose aligned to T-pose. And we're ready to export the result. Let's do step 4 now. Go to the File menu, choose Export, and select FBX. I'll name mine Tiger T-pose. FBX. Here's one important trick, under Path mode, set it to Copy, and then click the little icon next to it to enable Embed Textures. Once that's set, just hit Export FBX. And there we go, we now have our T-pose character exported. To double check, I'll open it in an FBX viewer, and as you can see, our character is in a perfect T-pose. Awesome! Now that we've got our T-pose character, let's bring it into DeepMotion and animate it. Head over to the DeepMotion website and sign in with your email and password. If you don't already have an account, just click Sign Up and create a free one, it only takes a minute. Once you're signed in, you'll land in the Motion portal. DeepMotion actually gives you 2 ways to animate custom characters, say Motion and Animate 3D. The custom character import process is the same for both, but today I'll quickly show you how to do it in Animate 3D. So, launch Animate 3D, then go to the 3D Models tab. Click Upload, and drag and drop your freshly fixed T-pose tiger model. Hit the Upload button, give your model a name, and then click Submit. DeepMotion will now import your T-pose character. Once the import is complete, you'll be able to use it for animation. Perfect, our tiger is ready to go. Now let's animate it. All we need is a video clip for Animate 3D AI to work with. I've got a nice capoeira dance video here, so let's use that. Just drag and drop the video into the window. Before submitting the job, let's tweak a few animation settings. I'll enable the physics filter to prevent issues like limbs intersecting with each other. I'll also turn on head rotation tracking for more accurate head movement. Next, let's adjust the source video speed. Since this video isn't super fast, I'll set it to 0.8 instead of the default 1.0 for fast action video. Matching the speed helps capture the timing and flow of the movement more accurately. Finally, let's add a little motion smoothing to clean up the animation. With that set, click Create Animation. This submits the video to the backend, where the AI processes the motion from the source video and applies it directly to our tiger character. Alright, the processing is done, let's preview the result. And wow, our tiger character is moving beautifully, animated directly from the video we uploaded. The motion is smooth and looks great. So there you have it, in just 4 simple steps, we used Blender to convert a custom character from A pose to T pose, and then brought it into DeepMotion to animate it with AI. Now you can do the same with any character you like. That's it for today's tutorial. Thanks so much for watching, and happy animating.